How the Caribbean people are demanding transparency and engagement from their governments and challenging the colonial mindset that drives invitational development. The Caribbean people love their beaches. They are part of their culture, identity, and heritage. But they are losing access to them as governments sell off prime land and resources to foreign developers and corporations. This is not only a threat to the environment and the economy, but also to the dignity and rights of the people. Many of the Caribbean's most popular beaches, such as Bob Marley Beach in Jamaica's Bull Bay, are being closed off to the public. The law that regulates access to beaches in Jamaica dates back to the colonial era and is racist, according to a local activist group, Jamaica Beach Birthright Environmental Movement, JBBEM. They have launched a campaign, joined by Ziggy and Ella Marley, to demand that all beaches be made accessible to local people. The issue is not unique to Jamaica. Across the region, public beaches are being privatized or restricted by resorts and hotels that cater to tourists. Public beaches that remain open are often poorly maintained or charge fees. The people are being denied their birthright to enjoy the natural beauty of their islands. The Caribbean people are not passive or silent in the face of this injustice. They are raising their voices and taking action to defend their beaches and their rights. They are demanding transparency and engagement from their governments and challenging the colonial mindset that drives invitational development. Invitational development is a term used to describe the practice of offering incentives and benefits, such as tax exemptions, to attract foreign investors. It is based on the assumption that development can only come from outside, and that the local people have nothing to offer or contribute. It is a form of neo-colonialism that exploits the land and the people for profit. The Caribbean people are rejecting this model of development. They are calling for a more sustainable and participatory approach that respects their culture, values, and needs. They are asserting their sovereignty and agency over their own destiny. One example of this resistance is the protest movement in Barbuda against a luxury resort project by James Packer and Robert De Niro. The project would take over public beaches and land that belong to the community. The people of Barbuda have been fighting for years to protect their communal land rights and their fragile ecosystem from this invasion. Another example is the campaign in Puerto Rico against the construction of a private pool on a public beach where endangered reptiles nest. The campaign has evolved into a symbolic battle over the future of the island's waterfronts. The people of Puerto Rico are demanding more democratic control over their natural resources and energy transition. These are just some of the stories of how the Caribbean people are fighting for their beaches and their future. They are not willing to sacrifice their heritage and their rights for short-term gains or foreign interests. They are proud of their identity and their history. They are resilient and creative. They are reclaiming their beaches as spaces of freedom, joy, and resistance. The Caribbean people are not only fighting for their beaches, but also for their environment and livelihoods that depend on the rich biodiversity and natural resources of the region. In this section, we will explore some of the ways that they are protecting their environment and livelihoods by restoring mangroves, protesting against harmful projects, and advocating for renewable energy. Mangroves are coastal trees that provide many benefits for people and nature. They protect the shorelines from erosion and storm surges, filter pollutants from the water, store carbon that helps mitigate climate change, and support a variety of wildlife, including fish, birds, and reptiles. However, mangroves are threatened by deforestation, development, pollution, and climate change. According to the Nature Conservancy, the Caribbean has lost more than half of its original mangrove cover. To restore and conserve these vital ecosystems, many Caribbean communities have been involved in mangrove planting and monitoring projects. For example, in Jamaica, a community-based organization called the Caribbean Coastal Area Management Foundation, CCAM, has been working with local schools, fishermen, and farmers to plant over 100,000 mangrove seedlings in the Portland Bight Protected Area since the project aims to enhance the resilience of the coastal communities and the biodiversity of the area. Another example is in Haiti, where a non-profit organization called Haiti Ocean Project, HOP, has been engaging youth and women in mangrove restoration and education since HOP has planted over 50,000 mangroves in the Grand Gove Bay and has trained hundreds of students and teachers on the importance of mangroves for marine life and human well-being. Besides restoring mangroves, Caribbean people are also protesting against harmful projects that threaten their environment and livelihoods. One of the most controversial projects is the proposed transshipment port in Goat Islands, Jamaica. The port would involve dredging 2 islands and part of the sea floor to create a deep-water harbor for large cargo ships. The project would destroy over 500 hectares of coral reefs, seagrass beds, and mangroves in the Portland Bight Protected Area, which is home to endangered species such as the Jamaican iguana, the West Indian manatee, and the American crocodile. The project would also displace thousands of fishermen and farmers who depend on the natural resources of the area for their income and food security. Many local and international organizations have been opposing the project since it was announced, and they have organized petitions, rallies, marches, media campaigns, and legal actions to stop the port from being built. They have also proposed alternative development plans that would promote ecotourism, sustainable fishing, and renewable energy in the area. Another way that Caribbean people are protecting their environment and livelihoods is by advocating for renewable energy. The Caribbean is highly dependent on imported fossil fuels for electricity generation, which makes it vulnerable to price fluctuations and supply disruptions. Fossil fuels also contribute to greenhouse gas emissions that cause global warming and sea level rise, which pose serious risks for the low-lying islands. To reduce their dependence on fossil fuels and increase their energy security and resilience, many Caribbean countries have been investing in renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, and biomass. For example, Barbados has set a target of achieving 100% renewable energy by the country has installed over 40 megawatts of solar photovoltaic systems on rooftops and car parks across the island. It has also launched a blue bond project that will unlock about $50 million for ocean conservation and sustainable energy development. Another example is Dominica, which aims to become the world's first climate-resilient nation. By the country has been developing its geothermal potential to provide clean and reliable electricity for domestic use and export to neighboring islands. It has also been implementing various adaptation measures such as building resilient infrastructure, restoring forests and watersheds, and strengthening disaster preparedness. These are just some of the examples of how the Caribbean people are protecting their environment and livelihoods by restoring mangroves, protesting against harmful projects, and advocating for renewable energy. By doing so, they are not only fighting for their beaches but also for their future.